we get to overhear this conversation between Jesus and his Father. I am coming to you soon, Father, he says, and I'm leaving all of my friends behind. But don't worry. I gave them the glory that you gave me. I gave it to them, and I am in them. And so they will glorify you. You can be sure of that. How are we supposed to do that? How do we keep that promise that Jesus made his Father? You may remember that several years ago there was a terrible fire in Utica, which is kind of an underdog town in upstate New York. They're always kind of trying to get by with a lot of challenges. And this was a big one. One of their biggest employers, the FX Matt Brewing Company, burned and took a whole bunch of West Utica with it. That's the maker of Utica Club, which has gotten a resurgence in the past couple decades. And it was just devastating. This family company looking at this beautiful old building with all this history that employed all these people in ruins. They were feeling the weight of the entire Utica economy on them when that happened. And a couple days after that tragedy, they got a phone call from the Genesee Brewing Company in Rochester. And they said, we're a family business too, and we're devastated by what happened to you. So we talked about it, and we've decided that we're going to shift our production to make some time available for you to produce your beer on our lines so that you can keep your company going while you rebuild. When they were interviewed by the media about that decision, Genesee said, this is our grandparents' company. And they didn't just give it to us, they gave us the values that go with it. This is what they would have done. Those are the values that they taught us. That feeling that you've got right now when I tell you that story, that's God's glory. That's what that feeling is. You're feeling God's glory. Whenever we do something that's above and beyond, when we're braver than we need to be, or more generous than is called for, when we do greater things than would be expected, we bring forth God's glory. Jesus says, I am glorified in them when they shine with the glory you gave me. When they do things that remind others of you, they're sharing your glory that I gave them. We have a family at SMSA that's had a really terrible year. They have a third grader in our school, and he has a first grade brother who was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And he has been through so much, as they all have. You may have heard their story because the South High Marathon Dance was partially in their benefit. Well, they've been spending weeks and months at the Children's Oncology Unit at Albany Med. Such a terrible combination of words, Children's Oncology. And he's been through a number of surgeries. And every time there was a surgery, the teachers would know about it. And they would summon all of the kids to the Great Hall. All of them, all the K through 8 kids. And they would say, our friend's brother is having surgery today. He needs us. Time for us to go to work. And they would pray the rosary together. The whole school of little children praying the rosary for the brother of one of their third grade classmates. That feeling that you have when you think of those little kids praying, that's God's glory. That's what that is. And the family just got remarkable news recently. Their little boy has turned a corner, and his prognosis is good. I think it's a story like that that would make someone say, you know, I'm due to retire this year, and I've got my eyes on a boat. Wouldn't it be great to have a boat and relax after 30 years in the classroom? Wouldn't that feel good? Or maybe to get one of those cushy retirement jobs that doesn't ask much of you. Or I could become the principal of St. Mary's. When you do something above and beyond what's expected, when you make a move that's braver than is necessary, more extravagant than would be expected, that's God's glory. That's why we get that feeling. That's what that is. And the world needs more of it. That's why the South High Marathon Dance is so famous. That's why it is. Because it's so much bigger than is necessary. It lasts longer than is reasonable. It's so much. And it reminds me of something that one of the saints once said. We should be living our lives in such a way that our lives wouldn't even make sense if God didn't exist. We should be living in a manner that would be nonsense to an atheist. Like, why do you do all that? Why are you putting that kind of effort in? Why? What's it for? When we live our lives in such a way that somebody would say, there must be a God. I mean, look at that person. Why do they do that? Why do they live that way? That's God's glory. You may remember one of the billions of stories from September 11th, 2001. This one was pretty well known because of the scope. It was one of the businesses in the World Trade Center that suffered the worst losses. It was an investment firm, Sandler O'Neill, on the 104th floor of the North Tower. More than half their employees died that day, 66 in total. And that investment firm had 3 partners that ran it. They started it together, and 2 of them died, and 1 was left. And in the first couple of days after that tragedy, the one who was left made 3 decisions. The first thing he decided was that all of the widows and families of the employees who died would receive their loved one's salary in full for a year. The next thing he decided was that they would receive the full benefit package for 10 years. And then he decided that Sandler O'Neill would start a foundation to pay for all the college tuitions of all the orphans from that tragedy. And there were 76 kids. One of them wasn't even born yet the day his father died. And that kid is the last Sandler O'Neill college graduate. And now it's May 2023, and he's graduating college. And now the foundation will go out of existence. It did its job. The partner who made all these decisions is a man named Jimmy Dunn. And he was interviewed on 60 Minutes. He recently gave the commencement address at Notre Dame. And he was asked, why did you do so much? You could have been generous without being that generous. You could have made a difference in the lives of those families without going that far. Why did you go to such an extreme? And he said, well, I was raised with the values of my mother, who sacrificed and sent me to Notre Dame, where I learned how to do the right thing. He said, the thing we've done for those families, that's going to reverberate for hundreds of years. That'll affect their kids and their kids and their kids and their kids. He said this was the hour to do the right thing. That feeling you have when you think about that, that's God's glory. Let us make the rest of our lives be about spreading that glory everywhere we go.